Hey guys, welcome to Now That's Debatable. I am your host, Fantastic Assad, joined with my trusty co-host, Triple A the Humorist. We are going to be taking on a interesting topic today for sure. I'm going to get our faces up on the screen here, but we're joined with two guests. We've had both of them on before. Welcome, glad to have them back. But it's going to be a interesting topic that one might find yourself a little out of place.
Which one of us may that be?
Now that all our faces are on the screen and the title of the show is called Navigating the N-Word, I'll let you pick which one's out of place. So this is going to be an interesting one. I am prepared for it as best as I can be, although I don't necessarily know that I'm the best person for the job.
Sure you are. Sure you are.
So, yeah,
No, you're perfect. You're perfect.
Triple A approached me and obviously asked me if it was something I'd be willing to do, and asked about another person that we've had on the show potentially coming on as a fifth person. And not only did I think that was a terrible idea, I don't think it would be a great idea to have five people on, much less this person. I just don't think they think quite long enough before they speak. And I think this is one of those subjects in which you're probably going to need to do that a lot to navigate it correctly. So, without further ado...
I wouldn't say that necessarily because, you want to have, all the different perspectives. You want to have different perspectives. So, I want to hear everybody's perspective on it. I don't want to just have where everybody's agreeing or everybody's walking on eggshells. It's called That's Debatable. Let's debate on it. If he has other views or anything like that, as long as it doesn't heater the line, then, I think we'll be all right. So.
I don't know if we would have been all right or not.
I mean, King Oglesby. I'll say this: with some of the guests that they've had, that have been some turned to some complete tragedies.
Oh wow!
If they are saying that this person doesn't need to be here, then I believe it.
Okay, all right. I believe him. I'll go with it.
Hey, before we get started though, Fantastic Aside, I know you were doing the names. King Oglesby. I see my name.
Yeah, your signal seems to be breaking up a little bit too.
Yeah, your signal's pretty bad.
Yeah. Also, I can add any title or overlay that you'd like.
Yeah, he's going to add an overlay because I think when I signed on to Google Meet, it signed under the Google name because I still was on the Relic Media page.
Yeah, that's what happened. So I put overlay for King Oglesby up, and I can put overlay on yours if you'd like as well, and I can have it match the way his looks.
While he's working on overlay, so I just want to go ahead and start this conversation.
What do you want to put for yours? Do you want to just put Terrell?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Okay. I got you.
I'm gonna try to hook up my computer so that I don't have connectivity issues. So, but we can keep going though.
Sure. So, the name of the episode is called "Navigating the N-Word." So, I was talking to Fasad about this about a week ago, and when I gave him the title, and so he kind of challenged me on the token N-word because it's a placeholder, right? For that N-word.
Yeah.
Right. And so by saying N-word, it's by using the token instead of the actual word. It sounds like we already made a judgment on that. So what do you think about a platform like this? Should we just go ahead and just say the word, or should we say N-word instead?
It's all about what y'all comfortable with. To be honest, it's all about what you're comfortable with. I'm comfortable with it. It doesn't matter to me because I use the word all the time. So,
Okay.
So this is,
I
this is
use
where it's
the word
going
all
to
the
get
time.
even
We can say
more nomenclimatic.
word for proper terms, but there's really no proper term of using it. It is what it is. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So
let's make it
talk
even
about this.
more nomenclimatic. So obviously there is a distinguishment made between actually how we're using the nomenclature N-word versus a kind of a reclamation of that word, the ending with an A instead of an ER.
True. Yeah.
And obviously, when I think most people are substituting N-word in the place of it, they're talking about the traditional, problematic spelling of ER.
With the hard R.
With the hard R. Yeah, the hard R, right. Exactly. So, the hard R. And do you think that word is problematic to use in its place? Because you said you use the word all the time. I would wager or guess, just off not knowing you at all, when you say you use it all the time, you probably use the colloquial, right? You don't use the...
I use the actual slang, the endearment term, as they say. And I don't say the hard R, because to me that hard R is the differentiator between the two and the meaning and the depiction of what you're trying to say or anything like that. So
So with that in mind, do you find like in like this kind of context, using the hard R for the point of discussing the show?
We could start off using it. I mean, it's your show, so we could start off using it just to give in the context of the show for people to know. I'm pretty sure everybody would know exactly what word we're talking about.
Right. So I don't think it's necessary.
N-word to me is fine. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. I just didn't want to.
I'm going to probably use the word a few times, but I'm not going to say. I'm going to use the word in the actual word that we're talking about. So right. I understand what you're saying, though.
Yeah. No. When I brought it up to AAA, it was more of a by already substituting a word. It seems like we're kind of poisoning the well of the conversation, and obviously there's the kind of endearing term that has come from the hard R word that we're not saying. Mm-hmm. But by kind of going into a conversation,
I like the way you said it, the hard R word. Let's just say that's the term to use right there.
Yeah, but it kind of seems like if we're having a discussion about it, and I've looked at some of the discussions that have been had about it and some of the things that have been attempted to kind of navigate this exact subject in the past. Mm-hmm. For instance, like there was a college professor in Arizona that tried teaching a course specifically revolving around the word.
Oh, wow.
Actually did not go very well. He didn't lose his job, but it was like I think it was well intent.
That professor.
Yes, what was the ethnicity of that professor?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to look. But the course didn't go well. I'll look real quick because I have all the Google.
So and while we're doing that, so I have a question. So some things seem to be obvious and tacitly understood, but we're not going to do that here. So obviously there are certain people that can use the word and certain people that can't. Now, for those that we say can't use it, like why?
Or you mean certain races or certain when you say certain
people, right? Because if someone's going to use that word with the intention of hurting someone else's feelings, mm-hmm. then we can already rule that out. And not just that word, but any word, saying anything with the intention of trying to harm someone else's mm-hmm. emotions, we can just go ahead and categorize that as immoral and something that you shouldn't do. But that's not how this word is treated. This word is treated even if you're using it in you have no harmful intentions. Mm-hmm. It is still considered wrong to use it.
That's true.
So why couldn't anybody just use the word?
I think because the history of the word is the number one thing. Mm-hmm. Of course, we already know that we know the history. We know where the word derived from. There's really no exact pinpoint of how the word became as mm-hmm. derogatory as it was, because I think when the history, as history starts, it started off as being where people were using it was spelled like niggas, N-E-G-U-S, and I think it was spelled another way, like N-E-G-U-H, which meant black, which how the earlier settlers or whatever you call them, the earlier slave owners described
Colonialist.
black people when they first came across the black, race, as to say, or Africans, or the darker race. So they use it as the word as black. Somewhere down the line, when it came to slave times, which not even slave times, when America Americanized the word, they use it as a term of a derogatory term, or a term of slang to describe the lowest of the low, or because they even use that word towards their own that were poor, or indigenous. It's not indigenous, because that's not the right word to use, but that were poor and that they considered lowly. But mainly, we know what the word was used to describe. It was mainly used. It went from being to describe black people or darker complected people to just being a derogatory slang term for the lowest of the low, the scum,
Gotcha.
as to say,
So, but now you talked about how you reappropriated the term and you used it as a form of endearment.
Yes.
by changing the spelling. Now, why couldn't like some white kid from Georgia with a Southern accent, Confederate flag, come up and say, hey Oglesby, what up? My. Why not?
What is he going to say? What's up, my nigga? Or what's up, my nigga?
What if he said that?
Do I know this kid? Did he grow up around me? Did he grow up in my culture? Because it's like certain other cultures or certain other races that they do give that pass to. Like, say, a lot of people use the term, and we actually spoke about this on a podcast before, like a long time ago, about a year ago, where certain people that we know grew up in the culture, like, say, Fat Joe. Fat Joe grew up in the hood, as to say, he grew up around black people all his life, even though Fat Joe is Puerto Rican, or Dominican. What is Fat Joe? Puerto Rican or Dominican? I think he's Puerto Rican, but he grew up around the culture. He grew up around the culture. He grew up as a kid, so everybody kind of looked at him like he was black, even though he wasn't. Everybody kind of looked at him like he grew up around the culture, so he was given a pass. So now, with something like that, is more understandable to me than someone who I don't know, someone who doesn't grow up around the culture, and they come up to me saying, "Oh, what's up, my nigga?" You know what I mean? Because I don't know.
So for you, it's really not along the racial lines.
No.
It's like a cultural thing.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with race to me. You know what I mean? Because it's just
So well, what if there's a black kid? He grew up in a white community, country music, all that kind of stuff, and he starts saying it. Like, are you gonna react in the same way as a white kid saying it?
9 times out of 10, if he didn't grow up in the culture, he may be using a hard "er." So yeah.
Okay, what if he's not?
I was about to say he's gonna call you a nigger.
Yeah.
What if he's not? You know what I mean? What if he what if he's not? That's not how he's using it. He's putting an A on it.
Yeah, that's a good example that you use. But I think in today's society, he may just get a pass just because he's assumed to have grown up in a culture, of assumed to have earned that right or that ability to use it. I don't know.
Should he? Should he get a pass? So I know he probably would get a pass.
Mm-hmm.
I mean a lot of people get a pass. I mean for that. But should he? Would you give him that pass?
I don't know, because I know where I live at in the country, I know a few black people that run around with Confederate flag shirts on. Mm-hmm. That have never lived in the South. You understand what I'm saying? So to me, it's almost like an identity crisis to a certain extent. But their reasons for representing a certain culture is their reasons. Like, I don't know exactly what their reasons are for representing their culture. Maybe their grandfather grew up in the South and they grew up with him bearing that flag or anything like that. I really don't know unless I ask him or sit down and talk to him. But to me, that seems kind of, you understand, like, on those same lines, because I'm pretty sure it's people from the South or what do you call what's the Confederacy? People that represent the Confederacy that will look at a black man with a Confederate shirt on and know that he don't have it on for the Dukes of Hazzard or anything like that. You know what I mean? So they may look at him the same way, like I may look at that guy or that.
So him wearing like a rebel flag or something, and maybe like being more familiar with white culture, that kind of like removes his ability to say it, without retaliation.
No, it's not up to me to make that determination. Okay. I mean? Yeah, it's not up to me.
Maybe not you like
Yeah.
individually, but collectively, society would determine it. Because it seems like to me, that I guess what we're saying, like if you're not in a specific culture, you're like losing black privileges in a way.
Yeah, that could be true.
Right, but
they have the term. They have the term having your black card removed.
Yeah, but like I mean, should that be the case? Should our blackness be confined to certain type of cultures? I mean, if I grew up in Japan speaking Japanese and knowing nothing about hip hop and all that kind of stuff, I mean, I'd still be me. I'd be just as black as I am.
That's true.
That's
true.
So,
I don't believe that you should get your black card stripped until you start doing things that are denouncing your race. For instance, Candace Owens. I think she is the biggest coon on earth. She seems to be so anti-black. So somebody got it.
You breaking up, bro?
It's my camera.
Yeah, maybe if you turn your camera off, it'll come in a little less broken.
Hold on. Y'all still hear me?
Yeah, but it's still breaking up. Bad.
Well, while we're working on that, let's do some housekeeping. The professor from Arizona State was a black guy, and then Fat Joe is Puerto Rican and Cuban. And comments, Punch Drinker, who commented on our last episode, was watching this one from Twitch, said, "Don't forget TOS, which is terms of service. I'm well aware that dropping the N-word on Twitch will get you banned, or at least the video taken down. I don't know what their policy is on an educational format, because we are probably the only educational format on Twitch." So, with that in mind, and then K-Dub looks like he said he doesn't want to be called in by anybody. And then asked, "What is blackness?
What is even blackness?" I guess so. Let's talk of that for a second. I think that's a good question.
No, that's a good question.
Yeah, people are going to have different definitions of blackness. So because I mean, like, there really is no legal definition of it. If you claim to be black, you're black. There's no black gene. So either of you. Anybody?
Have you ever?
You Facade. What's blackness?
Have you ever heard the term? Oh no, go ahead.
No, I was just holding up my skin.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Have you ever heard the term, like, when I know back in the day when my mom would get on the phone with like someone from social service or someone from a government institution or something like that, or even with a teacher or something, she would change her voice up. She would talk way more proper than I've ever heard her talk ever in her life. And we used to consider that talking white. You understand what I'm saying? So as far as blackness, we can define it in that way of, like, just what we know as being the culture of how we talk, how we walk. It's more of a cultural term as far as anything, and how you grew up or anything like that. It doesn't mean it has nothing to do with your actual skin color or your race or anything like that. It's more of a cultural term.
So Caleb asked, does that mean blackness is uneducated? Right? Because you talked about how you said, like, your mother, she was working at a school and she would change the way she talked to, I guess, to be a little less black.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is kind of the way that it came across. Yeah. Right? That somehow blackness is is less educated, right? You're not, your grammar is going to be, it's going to lose quality because of
it's not, you're not speaking proper, as they say, proper English, or proper.
Is that what we really want blackness to be, though?
It's using proper grammatical terms. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's what it's. I'm not defining blackness as that. I just use that as an example, as far as in contrast, as far as what to give an example of what it may mean, what a part of it may mean. You on here twice? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm trying to get on. Here through my phone now. Hold on, and I tried to.
Okay, your phone quality seems far better.
It's way better.
It's better. Yep. And I can't even figure out how to get off of this other one.
I'm sure I can kick him real quick.
So,
the
what did you say?
one? Can you kick the frozen one by chance? Just
we
for
gotta
the sake
Yeah,
of
I
just
can
speed.
do
kick it off.
Yeah, I'll
We'll
kick
figure
the
it out.
frozen one.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
because I can't even click off. I don't know what's going on over here.
To you, well, what is blackness, Terrell?
So what is blackness?
Yes.
Or can it be defined as like, how do you define the term blackness?
Um, that's a good question. That's an interesting question. I mean, are you talking about as far as how we identify, what we take pride in? Um,
I guess like in a more ontological sense, like what is the essence of blackness? Like if I'm gonna take you and I'm gonna start peeling stuff off of you, right? I'm gonna start removing parts of your properties out. What could I remove to the point where you're no longer black?
got you. Okay, so of course we got to start with skin color, the obvious part, right?
Mhm.
But then we have to go to history.
Okay.
So everything that is led up to this point, as far as history is concerned, everything that is attached to our past
Mm.
is blackness. Because without our past, we aren't where we are right now.
Mm.
Mhm.
And without our skin color, we are not where we are right now, obviously. Right. I want to go back to some of the things that you were saying before. I was having too many technical issues, and then I want to
Okay.
lead back into blackness.
All right.
By saying that. So, I know I started talking about Candace Owens, and I was talking about she's a coon or whatever. You know, I just, I'll, you were talking about certain black people. You were talking about how certain black people they come up in a certain environment.
there's certain black people that can use their lose some sort of black privileges, like
Right.
using the N-word.
Exactly. Yeah. So, black privileges, losing black privileges, like for me, hearing Candace Owens say that, it lands differently.
Mm.
Or
Okay.
people that are like her.
Okay,
Mm.
so being called the N-word by Candace Owens would be treated very differently from being called the N-word by like Paul Wall.
No,
right?
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't.
It would?
No, it wouldn't.
Okay.
So let me change what I said. I said it lands differently.
Okay.
It sounds different. Let me say that. It sounds different because when Candace, so I'm going to say something that is probably going to sound really ridiculous to a lot of people, but I don't care. It's how I feel.
Okay. So now that's debatable. So go ahead.
Exactly. So I believe in
Goodbye,
reincarnation.
Twitch.
Okay.
All right. We want to get you back on for that.
Okay. So I believe that a lot of the black people, such as Candace Owens, who seem to, in certain ways, denounce their blackness or seem to have an issue with black people in their past lives, were white slave owners or
Okay.
or white or slave catchers, or just white people who just hated black people, and they have been reincarnated, and now they are black people, and the reason that they can't stand their black skin is because deep down inside they're really white people who hate black people.
It's crazy.
I know.
Okay.
I know. Hey, now that's debatable though, right? You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
so
Okay.
I mean that's just it's just what I believe. Also, I want to touch on something else that you were talking about earlier, and you were talking about who's allowed to use the word. For me, I don't feel comfortable hearing white people say it.
Okay.
ER or A.
Is that
It
based
doesn't
on
matter.
just the history itself? Just based on the history itself?
It's based off the history itself, but it's not just that. It's also the fact that I feel like that it's wrong.
Okay.
Because and the fact that so this
I
is what
want to
makes me
challenge you
think
on
that
this.
it's
I want
wrong.
to challenge you on this, cause all right, cause now you're a rapper
Mhm.
and you use the N-word in your music.
So check this out. I was
Okay.
waiting for this to come up. I was waiting
All
for
right.
this to come up.
I knew
Okay.
this was going to come up too. I
Yeah,
knew
but check
music
this
was
out.
going to be at the forefront of it.
So
Okay. So
Josh.
there's a white kid who's a big fan of Ransom Relic,
Mhm.
who's just rapping lyrics that you wrote.
Mhm.
Now, what's the problem?
Now, I'll say this. If you listen to my music before 2000, This is 23, probably 2012.
Mm-hmm.
You hear me using that word. You listen to my music afterwards, you don't hear me using that word. I stopped using the word, not only in my music, but it's in my regular vocabulary. You don't hear me say that anymore. And it was probably around 2012. It could have been even a little bit before that. For me, it got uncomfortable. So that's why, and Chris, you like, even if you go back and you listen to all of our podcasts, and even if you think about all the conversations that me and you have had, you never hear me say that word.
No, not really. No, I can't recall.
Yeah.
Okay.
You never hear me say it because it got uncomfortable for me. Now, I don't care when other black people say it. That doesn't bother me. But to hear a white person say it, it's a little, it's jarring. It really is. So, and the thing is, for a lot of white people, I know that it's wrong, because if you were in a group of, if it was you by yourself and there's a bunch of black people, you're not going to say it.
Well,
Why are
yeah,
you not
but
going to say it?
that might not be because
Can
they
I
think
give
it's
a perspective
wrong.
on that?
It may
Given
be
that I'm
they may
a
think,
white
they
guy
may it
with
may be
like,
just because they know it may be some consequences behind it.
Yeah, so
Based
like
on
for
society,
Which
yeah,
like,
based on
like
society.
for instance, like
Yeah.
if I
Which
was
tells
in
me-
if I wasn't like in a Muslim country, I would
Mhm.
never draw a picture of Muhammad, right? Not because I think it's immoral, but because of what may happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
So like,
Right.
so
But you
a
wouldn't do it.
white kid in a crowd of black people, he's like, oh yeah, somebody might hurt me, you know? So
Exactly, because you are aware of the fact that people are affected by it. That's the thing. You know
Well-
that when it lands with certain people, that it's going to be uncomfortable for them. You are completely aware of the fact that some people see that word as a weapon,
Mm-hmm.
and it's uncomfortable. You are very much aware of the origin of that word, where it came from, and how it makes people feel. So
let me
it's
ask you
not
something.
just because you know that you may get beat up if you say that word around people. It's not just because of that. It's because, what's the reason that you're going to get beat up? Because they don't like the way it feels when they hear it coming from you.
Exactly.
Yeah, let me ask you something, right? So let's say I've genuinely been considering going to see like J. Cole or Kendrick like soon. And obviously in their lyrics they may drop the word, right? But I have been such a fan of like J. Cole. You can ask AAA for like years. He and I've been going back and forth of like who's better, J. Cole or Kendrick. And I've always been a J. Cole fan myself, right?
It's a toss-up, but go ahead.
It's everybody got their own opinion, right? But like, let's say I go to a J. Cole concert, right? I know a lot of J. Cole lyrics by heart, right? And I'm not a music creator myself. I'm not a content. Well, other than this is kind of like my content as far as content creation. But like, I don't anticipate anybody to listen to me and memorize what I'm saying and be able to kind of repeat it back. However, like in rap and in music and in concerts and stuff like that, a lot of musicians kind of get like a high feeling when the audience takes over and sings part of their song. As a matter of fact, you'll see people, like hold the mic out to the crowd and, they want them to sing that part of the song, right?
Especially like that niggas in Paris, the Jay-Z and that's a good example. The Jay-Z and Kanye song, you see people in Dublin and people all over the world singing it, and when they hold it out, and a lot of them get passed because they singing a song.
Right, but like my question is, isn't that almost intentionally alienating people that you don't want them saying the word, but then you sing a song and they memorize your lyrics and they know all the other 600 or 700 unique words in the song, and you hold the mic out to them and they're singing along and they know all of them, and then for that one spot I need to turn off real quick or all of a sudden I'm offending someone.
My argument against that? My argument against that is
no, I'd like to hear it. That's what we're here.
I'm pretty sure we all respect our parents to a certain extent where we don't say certain words in front of them or around them, correct?
Right.
That's sort of like the same thing. You can sing a song around your parents and you're not going to say the cuss words or the derogatory terms or anything like that around them. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. It's sort of like the same premise when you look at it. You can sing the song and you can mute yourself when it comes to it because the ramifications of certain cultures or certain people using that word. It's just the same thing.
so my question is, and again, it's not like I'm arguing or dying to say the word. I don't.
No, I
It's not
understand
my
what you're saying, though.
vocabulary.
Yeah,
It's just that, like, for instance, if we're in a situation and side by side, everybody on the screen can say the word when it comes to that part of the song but me, and I'm singing it, knowing it just as well as everybody else on the screen, growing up listening to it, and having it as part of, the songs that I grew up listening to, and as kind of part of my culture, not necessarily, like, part of the culture in general, but, like, it's just what I listened to when I was growing up, whatever, then it seems to me everyone should be aware that when I'm saying it, all I'm doing is paying respect to the artist, because all I'm doing is the same thing everybody else is doing. I'm regurgitating those lyrics. I've spent time to memorize them, to like educate myself on the artist. I know what they're saying. I know what comes next, and I'm singing along, right? I'm trying to, kind of pay homage to them by knowing all the words, because it meant something to me. I memorized the words, obviously. So
Now, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to wrap up that thought by saying, like, it seems to me like in that situation, admittedly, I don't know that I'd feel comfortable saying the word. However, there should be clear understanding from anyone that was in that situation that if I were to say that word, there's no ill intent behind it. It's nothing but just I'm singing along to lyrics that I memorized 10 years ago. So, like, I get that it's offensive on its own.
So I'm sorry, will you finish your point?
Yeah, I'm done. You go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. So here's the thing. You are only responsible for you. You can't think, feel, or speak for anybody else. So if you decide that you want to say that word, your intentions are your intentions. But how somebody else hears that and how they receive that, if they see you saying that, or if they hear you saying that, that's on them. If it's a chance that you want to take, then okay, you're going to have to deal with what comes with that. But you also have to understand that there are a lot of people out here that when we hear that word, or we hear a white person or somebody who's not and actually I'm gonna want to keep
not
it
just
on white.
It's all kinds of different. Yeah.
Now I'm gonna keep it on white though. If when you hear it, just because that's where it was weaponized from white people, not necessarily from everybody else. That's where it started. I'm talking about the origin here. So when it comes,
even though that's not necessarily true.
I'll tell you what. Let's come back to that in a second. I'm glad you said that. But let's come back to that in a second. So, but when it comes, when you hear, or when we hear a white person say that, the way it lands, ER or A, either way, my question is, why do you feel so comfortable to say that? I got a bunch of questions, and see, the thing is, you have to think outside of you. I understand you saying you want to pay homage to J. Cole, or and you want to recite the lyrics, but why is it so important that you say that word? It's just one word that you're omitting.
Well,
just one word.
My point wasn't to say like.
Sure,
my point is not to say like I have a huge desire to say this word, or that like I feel offended that I can't say the word or anything like that. It's kind of just a perspective thing of like, why am I being alienated from saying this word if it in the context of this song it means my friends, the people that I hang out with, my people, my brothers, my whatever you want it to mean in that particular situation.
Let me answer
why am I being alienated from saying that one word?
Real quick, because if you say you're using it in the context of a song, because of that context, do you call your friends that are white the N-word?
No, and I don't sing to the lyrics
either. You don't
either.
use it in that context regularly. Then what makes you think it's okay to use it in that context and just in reciting a song?
I don't sing when I'm talking to my friends either, though.
But I'm just using that as an example.
And hold on. And before we go any further, I want to make everybody who's watching very clear: when Fantastic Facade is on our side, or he's one of us. He's, the name of the show is now That's Debatable. So I don't want anybody to try to go at him. We're not going to have that. Yeah. All right.
It's
go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, I also don't like sing to my friends when I talk to them.
Okay.
So, like, you know, it's not like I'm doing this in a particular cadence or that I'm rhyming or whatever to when I talk to my friends. That's not something I normally do either. I wouldn't say the word without it being in the song if it wasn't present in the song. And I don't say it even when I'm alone. Like, I have no desire to say the word because I know that it can be very impactful to people. And I know it doesn't matter my intention behind it. I know that even if my intentions are as pure as gold, it can still be offensive because of the history of the word and the history that comes with it and all the baggage that comes along with it. But it just seems that it's a little ironic if it's not because it's offensive, because the word itself in that context, if it's offensive, then it's offensive no matter what color your skin is. And if it's not offensive because of what the context is it offensive just because of the color of the skin of the person who's saying it? And if so, like, why is that the case? Because I'm singing a song written by someone with a darker skin tone than myself, who's singing in front of groups of people who all have darker skin than myself, me not getting enough melanin throughout history, just short end of the stick sucks. You can't say that word because you're not dark enough.
Well, see, the thing is, so this was something that black people took and empowered it, and you know, we gave power. We took the power from the people who tried to. We took the power from the oppressors,
Okay.
and gave the power to the word, and then, you know, dropped the er, added an a, and that's what it became, right? So check this out. That's what we call black privilege. We don't have much of it, but the little bit that we do have, you can't take from us. Okay.
Hey, so I got
That's
so I
how-
got a
So
here's
that is
something I want to challenge you on.
that we made, and this goes back to blackness. Okay. So this is blackness. This is something that is just for us. This is our community, our family. So like, you come into my house, there's certain things that reserved for just me and my family. You can't come in here and do whatever with me and my family. If you see me and my family doing something, that's me and my family. You can't do that. You're on the outside. Take it. Look, gang culture. Would you throw up blood and Crip signs if you're not a blood and Crip? No, that's for them.
That's true.
That's for them.
That's
There's
a good
certain
example.
things that are just for certain groups of
Also,
people.
yep.
Yeah,
So-
and certain cultures.
Now-
Mhm.
All right, so now you said, like, so we took that. We saying we took that word and we like took that power that belongs with it, right? And it's the way to appropriate ourselves. To me, by designating a certain group of people and saying that it's taboo if you're using it, that's exactly what's giving power to it.
That's
Isn't
a good
it?
point.
It's
That's
almost
good
a little
point.
ironic
But-
because what you're saying is that I know right now, like, if I had malicious intent, I know there's something that I can do or say that would just crawl under your skin. And I know it would just enrage you. And you're saying, instead of saying, like, it's not a big deal, we've reclaimed power to the word, it doesn't matter who says it, everybody's got free use of it as long as your intention is fine. Instead of standing on the ground of, it doesn't matter, as long as you're a particular skin tone, you can say it no matter the intent behind it. Instead of doing it that way, what you're doing is you're almost empowering people, especially ignorant, and I'm going to be a little racist here, Southerners, especially because I grew up in the South. They want ways
I don't think you
to...
can be racist against your own people, but okay.
I definitely can. But
I wouldn't even say almost empowering them. I would say that's exactly what it's doing. Like,
Because
we created a word and said,
you're just giving
hey, I'm
fuel
gonna
to
get
people
really
that want
mad
fire.
if you use this word against me. That is empowering them. Like, if I say, like, let's say I take the word, I don't know, snake, and I tell somebody who doesn't like me, I'm going to get really mad if you use the word snake against me. I'm now giving that person a weapon.
So, but okay, that you make a very good point. But so we took the word and tried to, add power to when we use it with each other, right? So it's empowering when we use it with each other, right? For anybody else, it's not empowering. It's a dare. I dare you use it.
Yeah, so like
That's what it is.
if what we could do is if by letting anybody use it and just weakening the term really means like nothing, right? The power would be completely gone, wouldn't it?
And by the way, I don't think he means like the power from like black people using the word. I think he means like the fuel that people with malicious intent are trying to use the word are literally just using it as fuel. That's
so
if I, like again, like I said,
I'm sure both of y'all experienced this. Like where I'm from, there's like if you ever grow up in North Carolina, like I went to a all white school pretty much, which is like me and my brother, and so there was a lot of kids in our community. They knew that we went to an all white school, and they'd be like, what if someone calls you the N-word? You take that, stuff like this will always come up. And it was always this assumption that if that word is ever used against you by a white person, you're supposed to react very aggressively to its extreme, like usually violence. I mean, like it is, and to me, that definitely seems to be empowering those, and particularly ones who would use it to try to hurt you.
Well, I think that it's up to the individual how they choose to respond to that. But see, that's not just that word. We're human. So everything that comes with being human, we all have emotions. So there's certain things that are just going to land. Like, listen, I'm 5'6". You can call me short, and I don't care. It doesn't bother me. You call somebody else who's 5'7" short, and they're going to have a problem with it. It's all about how it lands with the person. With the person, you know what I'm saying? So. I'm gonna be honest with you. If I hear a white person saying the word, I'm not gonna react violently. We're gonna have a conversation. We're definitely gonna have a conversation. And if it gets violent, it's not gonna be because I made it violent. It's gonna be because I reacted to them making it violent. But we're going to definitely have a conversation about it, because at that point, I feel like you need to be educated on things. And also, I could be doing you a favor, because you may say this around somebody
that might not be as poised as I am.
Exactly. And they're gonna clean you up.
Like how
you're gonna lose your job, buddy. You're gonna lose your job.
and you may lose your teeth. And you may lose your teeth too, and some blood. So
how should we, like, as a black person, what is the way that I should react for someone calling me that?
So I'll tell you what happened in a situation with me one time. So I had a friend who she was white. And she walked into the room. It was me. I was the only black person in there. There were two other white people in there. And then she walked in. When she walked in, she said, "What's up, my nigga?" And then she said, "Oh," and caught herself. She said, I'm sorry. She said, I didn't mean it like that." And I was like, interesting that you felt so comfortable to just blurt that out. I said, "But let's have a conversation." She said, and then she cut me off. She said, no, look, I didn't mean it like that. Sometimes me and my friends, we talk like that. I said, why do you feel so comfortable to talk like that? What is it about that word that makes it so cool for you to feel like I understand black culture is cool. I get it. So now you want to use that word and make it cool. Cool. I got you. But you knew that it was wrong. And I know that you knew that it was wrong, because as soon as you said it, you did this.
Oops, yeah.
You caught yourself, and then you apologized, and then you started explaining yourself. So
it was her intention to use it in the first place, to test the waters.
Yeah, exactly. So
it was her full intention.
Right. So now we need to have a conversation. And I told her, I said, listen, do you call yourself my friend? She said, yes. I said, that's my friend. I'm asking you not to use that word. Let me explain to you why I don't want you to use that word. My family's blood is all over that word. My family's blood is all over that word. So please don't use that word. I don't care. ERA coming from a white person, it lands the same when I hear it. So please do not use the word. Now, I'll tell you something else. Now, Josh, my bad, triple A. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you by your name. My bad. So
doxed. Go ahead.
so down in South Carolina, Newberry, South Carolina, where our family is from. I don't even know if they're still there, but the slave quarters where our ancestors were still, they were as recently as the 90s. I know that they were still there. I don't know if they're still there or not. Did you ever go?
I didn't, but
Okay.
I know of the place.
Okay. So I've been there. I've been there. I've been in the slave quarters where our ancestors were. Now, I was a little boy when I was there, but I still remember, and I still remember how it felt. I had not been really introduced to racism at that young age. I didn't quite grasp the concept of racism at that young age until I was in those slave quarters. It just hit me differently. So, what happens is, depending on the way you come up, the depending on your one thing that I have realized, I've seen generations react to that word and racism period differently. Our parents, your father and my mother, who are brother and sister, when they hear that word, especially from white people, it lands differently. My mama was out there with the hoses turned on her during the Martin Luther King riots, you know, and there was a bunch of white cops in there calling her names, calling her that word. It lands differently with her. Now, you get to our generation where racism isn't like it was with their generation. And it seems as generations go on that maybe things, people become a little more lenient and they a little more accepting of certain things. But for me, I always go back to the origin, not just of this word, but with everything. I always go back to the origin of things, which is why I feel so strongly about it. So to answer your question, how do you respond to somebody who says that word? It's up to you and how that word lands on you. For me, it's uncomfortable. For me, every time I hear a white person use that word, whether it's the ER or the A, it's a weapon. And going back to that conversation I was having with my friend that day, I ended that conversation by asking her, well, by telling her first, every time I hear a white person use that word, it's a weapon to me. So let me ask you a question. Are you raising a weapon towards me? And she said, no, I'm not. I would never do that. I would say, and then I said, okay, so when you and your white friends use that word playfully, do you understand the way that it could affect your black friends now? And she said, yes, I do understand. I said, cool. I'm not telling you not to use that word anymore around your white friends. What I'm telling you is that if you continue to use that word around your white friends, I know where we stand. And that's how I chose to deal with it. I don't have to go off on the person. I don't have to go to violence or whatever, because I still have a decision that I have to make. I still have to stand. So now we can go back to blackness. One of the things that I believe when it comes to blackness, me standing in my blackness and being proud to be black, is the fact that certain things, when it comes to racism, don't move me in a direction of validating or verifying what a lot of white people think of black people. Thinking, oh, this nigga right here is just going to be violent. Or this nigga right here can't control himself. No, 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 no. My blackness to me means I'm going to be very proud in this, and I'm going to respond to you, not ignorantly, very intelligently. I can have these intelligent conversations. I can get my point across, and I can do it without violence. Now, if you swing, oh, that's off. That's different, you know.
And that's something to think about. To add on that, that's something to think about. Is you got to think about a lot of, and I'm not just categorizing this down to white people. I'm just saying any other culture that doesn't normally use that term, you know what I mean, as far as endearment is the way we do. A lot of them may use that word around their friends, around their family, but they don't use it out in the open, only squarely out of fear that it may turn violent or that they may lose their job or anything like that. Because if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't a fear of repercussions or anything like that, it would be a lot more. It would be still used out openly, in songs, in derogatory meaning of however they choose to use it. And I think it's only not as open because of the ramifications that can come from using that word. You know what I mean? So, and I look at it the same way as I look at, like, say, you have a lot of females that go around calling themselves bitch now. You know what I mean? So, they're kind of doing the same thing with the word bitch as we use that we're doing with the N word. You see a lot of women going around whereas that word was used to describe, as it was used to describe a lowest of a low, like calling a girl a dog or calling anybody a dog or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now those same females, are a lot of black females, to be honest, are using that word, and a lot of white females too. A lot of different cultures do it, but a lot of them are using that same term as a term of endearment now. They're greeting themselves with that, "Hey, bitch," and all that. I hear my mom say it. I hear my aunts and them say it. That's not going to make me turn around because I know how derogatory that word is, and I'm not going to greet my mother that way. I'm not going to greet my female cousins that way. I'm not going to greet my wife that way. So that's the same thing when it comes to the N word. We know we know. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, to me, I think the ultimate aim of how we deal with this word, it should be to reduce any power that it has. So, I would like for maybe in 500 years from now that word not be taboo. That black people little black kids still not getting in fights over being called over this word. And in order our current tactics, the way we're currently using, saying this is our word, but y'all can't use it, I don't see that method getting us there. I see it just getting worse. Because what we're still doing, we're still making it taboo.
I think certain things are meant for certain people. Like, we ain't allowed in a clan. So I mean, why can't that's white privilege?
Yeah, I mean, we could.
If you want to call the clan a privilege, sure.
It's certain things. Yeah, it's certain things you just can't do. That's what it is. We have we don't, like I said earlier, we don't have a whole lot of black privilege, but the little bit that we do have, you can't take from us.
But to me, it just seems like a very expensive price, because like by holding this black privilege, we're still weaponizing it, like, for them. It's like we're still giving them rope to verbally lynch us by. And I mean, do you see the merits in what I'm saying? At least if we could, like it.
Also, if I start a clan, you're welcome to join.
The Wu-Tang Clan, not a clan based on hate or race or anything like that. He's not talking about that kind of clan. We got to stipulate that and be clear. Just in case.
Now that we've broken a little bit of the tension, I wanted to address, because there's been quite a few comments, and one of those was on blackness, and someone said growing up being called Oreo because of how they talk. How do you guys feel about that, or what do you kind of have to say about that? Because obviously,
I hate that. I hate when somebody says to somebody that a black person is talking white, because that always comes, and I've had people say that to me too.
Yeah, me too.
Now, the ironic part is, I don't care when people say it to me. I hate to hear when people say it, especially when black people say it to other black people. They say, "Oh, you're talking white," because they're using big words, because they know how to articulate themselves. No, language is not black or white. Words are not black or white, except nigga. Nigga's black.
That's kind of the whole point of the show, right? Like, you dug yourself a hole and then you shot yourself in the foot to fall in.
No, I'm moving.
Every word except this one is not racially motivated in any way.
but I absolutely hate that, and I absolutely love to hear black people who are extremely articulate, who use big words, I told Triple, I almost called you Josh again. Oops, I said your name, whatever. Anyway,
Jackson.
I told him, I said, when I listen to this podcast, I have to sit there with a dictionary, because I'm like, hey, listen, I'm pretty daggone smart, okay? But the words that y'all use,
I thought my vocabulary, I thought I had a pretty good vocabulary until listening to y'all sometimes. Y'all keep me in the. I had to go back to an old encyclopedia with some of the words y'all use sometimes.
Right, but there are a lot of people that would say that you talk white. Like you talk white because you use the words that you use, and No, you speak intelligently.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is. I hate when people do that. So to that person that said that people call them an Oreo because of the way that they speak, it says more about them than it does about you.
Mm-hmm. And I've never heard that term before. I've never heard anybody called an Oreo before. Like,
oh,
I
really?
don't know where that. Yeah, never.
Yeah, that's pretty.
The only time
always
I've ever
thought-
heard that.
Is that referring to a mix? Is that referring to a interracial person, like someone who's mixed or anything?
No,
like that?
Nah,
It's
it's
referring
black
to
on the
someone who's
outside, white
black
on the inside.
outside, white on the inside.
white on the inside.
I've never.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've never heard that term before. We usually call those people
Actually,
coons or token or something like that. You know,
or
like
Uncle Tom.
yeah, Uncle Tom. That's the term we usually
stuff like
say or something like that.
I've
But it's
never-
not just
I've
because
never
it's
heard
not
that
the way
either.
somebody talk. It's actions that give you that term. It's not the way because somebody talk. It's certain actions, like say
Mhm.
a Candace Owens or Clarence Thomas or someone like that. You know what I mean? Those are the ones that we give those type of terms to. Not I've never heard the term Oreo being placed on somebody before.
Chill out on Clarence Thomas.
But man, hey, he can get it too. I don't care. All of them. Candace
Hey,
Owens,
look.
Clarence Thomas, Clayton Bixby,
Michelle
black
Obama,
correlation for-
everybody.
Yeah, the black correlation for Trump, all of them can get it. I don't care. None of them.
What about passes? Like,
You said passes?
yeah, can I give somebody a pass to say the N word?
Yeah, you can. Because
That's totally
again,
up to you.
this
What you
is-
Really?
comfortable with.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So
That's totally up to you and who you
So
may be comfortable with.
I see where this
But
is
be
going
careful,
already, and I
be
hate it.
careful. Be careful what you're doing, because you may give them a pass that's going to get them beat up.
Yeah.
okay.
So when they're around you, it's different. They may get around somebody else and feel comfortable to say it, and now they come back to you like, "Man, why you say I can say that? I can't say that no more."
No, what was it?
You know,
Let me tell you, I grew up with AAA, so I've known this man like almost like going on 30 years now. Okay, I know what was about to happen because I've lived with them. He's been my brother forever. I know the way the man's brain works. Okay, that's why we have a podcast together. That's why we've been best friends forever. He was about to say, if I can give somebody a pass, can I give one to Fantastic Facade right now, and it not be offensive to you?
Go ahead. Cue the song.
Because-
Cue the song, niggas in Paris.
Right,
Niggas in Paris and just go
What,
ahead and sing
what,
along.
what I'm saying, like,
Just go ahead.
if I give someone a pass, and they still if I give some a kid a pass and they get jacked up, did they really get a pass?
Nah, they just got jacked up.
Yeah.
They got a pass from you. They got a pass to be able to say it around you.
Okay.
Yeah, but when they around everybody else, no, they
It's
just
it's
need
not-
to let it pass.
So
It's
passes
not a
are
universal
mobile.
pass.
Like,
You can't pull it out,
mobile.
whip it out, be like, hey.
No.
Let me ask y'all a question real quick. What is the equivalent, or what is a word that can be equivalent, that can be thrown towards white people is the equivalent to the word nigga? Exactly.
There isn't one.
Exactly. So
There's words for other races. Though.
Exactly. So if someone can call me something and I don't have anything that I can call them in return that's the equivalent of derogatoriness or degradeness of that, then what am I to do?
So here's
that is one of the main reasons why a lot of reactions to that word is violent.
Here's what we can do. So the reason why we don't have an equivalent word, I think, is because of us. We've made that word taboo. If white people took a word and said this is taboo, and black people can't use it, and if you use this word against me, I'm going to react in a certain way.
You mean like credit?
Like,
I'm sorry.
What? Yeah.
I just try to be funny all the time. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So
I'm
we and let's say that attitude percolated through the entire of white American culture.
You froze.
Your phone is. I mean, your computer's frozen, man.
Froze.
He got
back now?
a gerbil running
back?
on a
Yeah, we
wheel
can hear
trying
you.
to
Yeah, go
produce.
ahead.
Okay, I'm back.
internet.
All right. So
Okay.
so let's say that attitude percolated all throughout the culture, all throughout all of white people. Like now we would have a word for people who hate white people. Now, let's say I hated white people. I now have a word to hurt them, and that would be entirely their own doing. They made it taboo. They put me in a position where I now have the ability to hurt them.
But you know what the difference is? The history.
There,
They don't have the
history.
history that we have.
Yes,
That's
but
true.
here's the thing. To me, the history keeps getting revived, and that's like the current way that we're tackling this word. 500 years, 1,000 years from now, I don't see it going away. Because
so 500
at
years
some
from now, do you think that people will still see slavery as what it is, or what it was?
Maybe. However,
That's a good question.
Because that's the history.
They may, but regardless of slavery, even if like slavery was gone, if we're still saying this word is taboo, and we're going to react in a certain way, we're going to automatically be hurt if a white person says it, then our word is still going to have the same power, whether it's slavery or not. Like any group could do that. Let's just say I was like I'm bald, and I got really sensitive over my baldness, and I tell you, I'm like, hey, I'm going to react in a certain way that if you call me bald, like I've now given you a way to hurt me. And that's what I'm saying. Like to me, I think we're preserving this word, this word, and I don't see a path to light.
But see, the difference is nothing was done to you because you weren't treated a certain way. You weren't enslaved because you were bald.
Sure.
Because you were bald. So we were enslaved because we were black. And then there were a bunch of other things that came as a result of that. So now there's the lynching, there is the word nigger, there are just certain things that come along. There's a bunch of things that came after the enslavement. So it's different. So I don't think that the being bald thing and the slavery thing is an apples to apples comparison. We're talking about
the slavery thing. What I'm saying is like we've taken a word, we've taken a token, and we gave it so much power, and we're saying like whoever uses this word is now like you've now gotten. I'm now giving you power over me. Because you're using this word. And like
let me offer a little pushback. Yeah, let me offer a little pushback on what you said, because you said it's us that keep giving the word power. No, we changed the word and the meaning of the word to what we want it to be. The people that's giving that word power are the white people or the other racist people that are still saying the word with the hard ER, that are still calling people niggers or whatever, not in supermarkets or anything. The Kerns are still giving that word power. It's not us giving that word of power. We changed the word. We made it clear what it means to us and the endearment that it means to us and what it means to us. But it's a whole different word. It's a whole different thing. It's a whole different meaning.
It's us who's deemed it taboo, right?
For other cultures to say it? Because we know the intentions that they're saying it towards us.
But we could change that. Like we could change that. What if calling me that word, I made it no different from you calling me dumb or something like that?
It doesn't land the same.
It doesn't land the same because of our attitude towards it. And
it doesn't land the same because of the history.
Yeah.
Well, our attitude towards it is because of the history.
Exactly.
Yes, there's this history that goes with that. But I can tell you this. I can say one time I was in a restaurant with somebody, right? And very respectable black guy, right? Who works in cybersecurity. I was looking up to him, and believe it or not, while I was sitting down, I was older guy, very wealthy guy. We were sitting down, we're eating. Believe it or not, there was some white people at another table. They were getting kind of rowdy. He asked them to calm down, and they got mad, called him that, and he reacted ingeniously, right? He says like, yes, how am I, nigger? You see my car outside? I'm driving a Bentley. Look at your car. You got a hoopty. Y'all drive here in a hoopty. You wearing these broke down clothes. I can look how much money I got in my account. Look how much. Look what I've done with my life. It's not me who's that. That's you. He completely stripped him of the power. You know what they did? They wanted to fight. They wanted to fight after that because they realized them using that word could not hurt him. Because in his mind, they were the niggers, not him.
So
He completely stripped it from them.
So you're saying that if we get called the ER word by Karen in Walmart or something like that, if we totally ignore it, that's going to make the word go away and that's going to keep them from using the word?
No, it's not going to go away. But what I'm saying is if there's let's say I don't like you and my intentions is to hurt your feelings. Mm-hmm. If I know that there's a specific word that is going to do that above everything else, I'm going to use that word. Mm-hmm. If I know that word just doesn't affect you at all, I'm not going to use it. I'm going to use something else.
And that's the main reason why that word is always going to exist, for that main reason that you said, because the racist people know that is the main word that I can use to really push you over the edge. That's the only thing that I have. I can call you a female dog. I can call you dumb. I can call you none of those may not be the right words to push over there. I know that I can use this word, and I know the kind of impact that it's going to have on you. That's the main reason why that word is always going to exist in those type of cultures and things of that nature.
But right, isn't it us? Isn't it us that choose to be pushed over the head? Because like back into the scenario, and I told you I was with the gentleman, and this we were in a Ruby Tuesday actually, and so when they used that word, they were expecting us to try to get up and fight them. And he pointed out how he's way more successful than those broke dudes who called him the N-word. And now they wanted to fight. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like, I think
that seems to me a much better than say, because if we had done what they expected, just take off our shirt and get ready to fight, that would have been what they wanted. Instead, everybody was laughing at them. They wanted to fight us because of the way that this gentleman reacted.
So first, I wanna shout out to you for hanging out with people who drive Bentleys. Secondly, but secondly, I need better friends. Chris, get a Bentley. Secondly,
no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't even if I could afford one, to be honest.
But secondly, I think that the way that he responded was perfect. But that's one person. We can't expect everybody to respond that way. So going back to what I was saying earlier, when we're talking about the people before us, our parents, that word lands differently with them. It's much more of a weapon when it lands on them because of what they had to deal with. Think about grandma, what she had to deal with, great grandma, what they had to deal with that word. And as we go back further and further, and so it just lands differently. But we can't be responsible. We can't think for anybody. We can't speak for anybody. We can't act for anybody else. So we have to be just very aware of the fact that, that word lands differently for some people.
I think you made a great point. So like you were talking about, we can't control other people's behavior. But we can reduce the potency of the words they use.
I agree with you. Now,
and it's all in the way that we respond.
And that was our whole intention for changing that was our whole intention for changing the meaning and the word itself. That was our whole intention, to take the power away. That was the whole reason why it became the NIGGA and not the ER.
But that's why at the beginning of the episode, I asked, would it matter if I used the hard R versus A? Because if it still has potency, no matter how I, verbalize it, then you haven't really done that. All you've done is just you've given me a different way to say another racial slur.
Right. I agree.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
It depends on who hears it. Because there's some people, I know some black people, I've actually heard some black people say, matter of fact, I'm not going to say the rapper's name, but I heard a rapper say, if I'm at a concert and I'm rapping and I say the word and I see some white people in the audience and they say the word, cool, whatever, they're supporting me. They're supporting, they're not using it in a way that's harmful. They obviously are not racist because they're at my concert. So it's different. And cool, if that's the way he chooses to receive that, then cool. But you got to understand, listen, there are 8 billion people in the world. That's 8 billion different personalities. You can't think for everybody. So there's somebody where that's going to affect them differently. Check this out. Let's take it off that word. Let's say that you're listening to a song from your favorite artist, okay? And that artist has a lyric that says, that let's say that they are battling another rapper, right? It's a diss track, and they say, "I'm gonna rape your mother."
Well,
Are you okay with saying that? So now,
No.
and the thing is this, we can't say that that's different, because what we're talking about here is how it lands, how a person receives something,
and the intention behind it.
exactly, and the intention about so if we're going to say something about, oh, if I say, if somebody's using the word and they say nigga and oh, I didn't like the way that felt, and you say, oh, I'm gonna rape your mother, oh, I didn't like the way that felt, that's the apples to apples comparison that I'm talking about, how a person receives it. So what I'm saying is, everything that you're saying, I don't disagree with. I honestly believe that not reacting violently, reacting intelligently to people using that word, it's probably a better way of responding to it. As a matter of fact, that's what I did. When my friend said that word, that's how I responded. I didn't respond with violence. So I agree with that. What I'm saying is that there are a lot of people who don't think like me. There are a lot of people who, when they hear that word, it lands differently. And
But
something's
you know
triggered,
why?
and they want to fight.
And you know why they react that way. I think it's because, well, not for everybody, but at least for a lot of people, the reason they react that way is because it's been like inculcated by the culture to think that way.
That's true.
Because like if you were to take a black child, raise him in a remote area, somebody calls him that, he's not gonna even know what it means. And so like I'm not even trying to I'm not talking about this like on an individual level. I'm saying like we need to have a cultural revolution about the way that we are going to address this word. As long as we make it taboo, we're empowering those who hate us.
Have you ever heard or seen a white person call another white person a nigger and seen the white person react violently to it?
No, I haven't.
Why is that? Why do you think that is?
Because he's.
That's a good question.
I mean, I don't know. That's a really good question. Maybe because in their mind, that's not what they are, and that's not even. They haven't been told to think that that's a word.
It's because they don't have a history. They don't have a history of seeing it used in a term to degrade their great grandmothers, and used in a term to have them hunted and have them killed and have them hanged or things of that nature. They don't have, it doesn't hit that well. That's what Terrell was talking about as far as impact. Whenever
we can't change that.
We get that.
I don't think we can. We cannot change the past. We can't control it, but we can control the future. And would you at least acknowledge this? The way that I'm saying that we address the word, do you see how in like 100 or 200 years or so or maybe 500 years or so, if we address it the way that I'm saying to address it, the thought of a black kid getting in a fight with a white kid over that word, it would be like almost unheard of.
I can see that.
Right. Yeah. But now with the way you're saying that we should address it, doesn't it seem like it would just stay around?
Well, no, remember, I said I'm cool with addressing it in an intelligent way. Okay. I love the way that your friend addressed it. But see, that's me. I'm one person.
Okay, all right, we're not, maybe not for you, but if we keep it taboo, then that it's still going to be, people still going to be getting fights over this word and getting their feelings hurt, right?
People will still get in fights over getting over.
If I hear the word, I'm going to respond intelligently. If a friend of mine hears that word and decides to punch a white person in the mouth for saying it, I'm okay with it.
I think because a word that used to be up there, like almost in terms of not quite there, but used to be in like the top 5 or the top 10 of those derogatory words. That's now used. That's now also used as a term of endearment, or almost not like dumbed down to the point where it's not even derogatory anymore. The word queer.
Well, yeah, I was going to say FAGGOT. That word even another word, TRANNY,
Yeah, yeah,
against trans people.
exactly.
You know,
Yeah,
so like,
so
so, and I think that there needs to be a cultural change in the way that word is addressed. I think I think the same way, because for me, we have to consider what kind of world do we want to live in. I don't want to live in a world where my daughter has to worry about having, you know, her day ruined over a word being said to her. Not even an entire sentence, not even a complete thought, just a word. You know, that's not the world that I want. And the way that I see getting there is not by saying, hey, white people, we can't use this word, this is ours.
yeah.
You know what? Though?
Can
I don't
I want
think
to give
it's
y'all
wrong to
last
try to
word on
hold
this.
people to a
you
certain.
gotta
I don't
go.
think it's wrong to try to hold people to a certain standard. For instance, like that word TRANNY. I used to say that word until I realized one day I was talking to my wife about it, and I said the word, and she said, "You know, that's a derogatory term, right?" I said, "Really?" I
I
had
didn't
no
know it.
idea.
I didn't know either until they
Yeah,
started.
when as soon as I found out, I stopped using the word. So I
Well, you're a
understand.
good
So
person, but
I'm an
racist
amazing
people
person,
aren't.
but
Yeah.
Okay, but so like you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Okay, so
right.
that. So making that word taboo, that tactic is not addressed to people like you,
But what I'm
right?
saying is, you can't control either side. You can't, it's hard to just try to hold everybody to a certain standard and say, hey, stop saying this word. But on the other side, you can't tell everybody else, hey, stop responding to this word.
True.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
That's
Hopefully,
over
maybe
time.
500 years from
I think.
now,
I think.
maybe, hopefully.
I think over time, that's the way. Like, if we start the cultural revolution now, and how that word is addressed over time, that could happen, because there's still people, like, for instance, like this conversation, like I'd never be able to have this. Like if I was talking to my dad, that idea would be ridiculous to let other people use this word, because you know, yeah, because or Nigeria,
Because
you
he
know,
knew what he had to go
yeah,
through.
they would, yeah,
exactly.
this would be like, are you insane?
Exactly.
You just no,
Yeah.
and so.
Yeah.
But you know, as each generation passes, we seem to be a little bit more open-minded, react a little more reasonably, you know, with that type of word. I like to give y'all the last word. I got my 3-year-old is a little sick. I didn't get her in the bed.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
I got a question for you.
Great combo.
How do
Great
we
combo.
start the cultural revolution? Do we like me, you, and Chris? Do we like, or King Oglesby? I don't know what name they have there. I can't see what name is down there. But do the three of us, like, we like line up and we let Fantastic Facade just lead this? Like, he gets in front of us like, hey, listen, everybody.
Well, no,
Like, how do we do this?
I wouldn't start off like that, because people may not be aware of what we're trying to do.
Exactly.
But yeah, so
That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, right. The best way to start is honestly just having conversations like this, and
Right.
you know,
Okay.
and broaden these conversations. You know,
And
you know,
and maybe take it even a step further, and this is just my 2 cents, of instead of just having that conversation where your friend who slipped up and says the word in front of you, also have that conversation or this conversation with your friends in general and say, hey, it might not be the best to react violently in this situation, because it obviously is providing white people fuel when they're using it with hatred and ill intent. So you say, hey, I sit down with my friends that are already prone to react violently and say, hey, as long as we're reacting violently, that's kind of fuel for the fire. And if we take that fuel for the fire away,
what I said earlier, if there's no fear of that violent reaction, or no reaction at all of somebody losing their job, that word is going to get used derogatorily a lot more. I just see that happening.
And this is just my 2 cents and my opinion, but
there's a fear of repercussion.
Well, this is just, again, my 2 cents, my opinion. It doesn't mean anything for anybody else in the whole world but me. But if let's say for some reason you and I were in an argument and like things were getting heated, and I was like, man, I know what to do. I'm gonna whip out the word, right? And I throw it down on the table, and you
Oh,
just
whoa,
have
whoa,
no.
whoa! Don't say that word. Don't say the word.
Whip
don't
out,
say whip. And then don't say whip. Or
I
that
whip
word
it
in
out.
the same sentence at all again. Like, don't do that. Nah, go ahead. I'm joking.
I
Go
whip
ahead.
it out. I whip it. I
After
whip
this,
it
I like
out.
to give them the last
Yeah,
word.
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Anyway, I break out the word. I say it, and you have no reaction. You're just like we just continue on having our discussion. To me, I built up this idea in my head that I was going to like make you stumble and fall and turn into an angry rage, and instead, what I got was just a continuation of a conversation. Then you've disarmed me. I came with what I thought was a weapon, and instead I got little to no reaction. And now I'm standing here looking stupid because what I thought was going to be, ha ha, I know the button to press. I'm gonna make every person in the world mad by using this word. And then you just, like, if I was the guys in that Ruby Tuesdays, I just be caught so off guard because what I thought was a weapon, you've now just disarmed. You just said, oh, this isn't, like, I don't care. Like, you can say that, but I know, A, that's not who I am, or it's not, the way you're trying to use it isn't offensive to me because I really don't care what you have to say. And then B, like, it's just a word. Like, I know there's a history to it, but
I don't really see it going down like that, because if someone's intentions are to hurt you, and if they can't find that one thing that'll hurt you, they're going to look for something else to hurt you because that's just their intention. So it's not just the word. If you don't react to that word, then they're going to try to find, if that's their sole intention is to hurt you in some type of way, and you don't react to one thing, they're just going to find something else to get you to react to. So I don't even think
it won't be that word.
Yeah,
It won't be
exactly.
it won't be the N word.
So I don't think that'll work. I don't think that could be one thing that could.
The N word.
Take
The
the power
N word.
away. Yeah.
The N word would no longer be on the table.
Yeah.
And that's the point that I was trying.
But it's also about what gives the
but-
person satisfaction. There's
Yeah,
certain people who can respond intelligently. If you call them that word, they can respond intelligently and make you look stupid. Like when you at Ruby Tuesdays and the way your friend reacted to those guys, that gave him satisfaction in speaking to them intelligently.
But then they
There are
still
other
wanted to
people
fight.
who will get to
But then they
receive
still wanted to
satisfaction
fight.
from knocking your teeth out.
But
You know?
they still wanted to fight. When they see that he didn't get the they didn't get the reaction they wanted, they still wanted to fight. So so either way, regardless of what happened, if you take that power away, they're going to try to weaponize some other way to use against you, because that's just the impact of the reaction that they want you to have, regardless.
And,
You know, that's how I
and the
see it.
thing is, and as barbaric as this is going to sound, I don't care. I'm gonna say it anyway. I am a firm believer in people getting punched in the mouth. Not just, but hold on.
Okay.
Let me make
But
this
we'll
clear.
end it on that.
Yeah,
man, that's the end of it.
Violent.
It was a great show.
I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay.
Not just for this, not just using this word, but in general. I believe if more people have been punched in the mouth, then they think before they do things. Now, this is coming from a boxer, so it's different, you know. But I do believe that more people, if they get punched in the mouth coming up, then they're like, you know what? Let me stop. Let me think before I do this. So I'm a believer. Now, not with using that word. I'm not gonna punch somebody in the mouth for using that word. But if somebody gets punched in the mouth for using that word,
All right, guys. I
Great
really
combo.
wanted to appreciate y'all
Great
coming
combo,
on.
man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Look
great.
forward to having you back on again. I definitely want to get you back on because we're talking about reincarnation. That'll be really good.
Yeah.
I
Sorry
want
to
to be
the
in that
comment
conversation
section.
too, because I have my own
Alright.
thoughts about some things. I have some crazy thoughts. It may sound crazy, but in my mind, it makes a lot of sense when it comes to those type of things. But
Okay.
Apologies
Alright,
to the
we'll
comment
definitely make it
section. We
happen.
didn't get to address everything,
good.
but maybe in the future. Thank you guys for coming on. We have an
it.
episode
Right.
next week, by the way, that we're going to be doing on the fine tuning of the universe. We'll try to get to more comments then. We may have a continuation of this or some other conversation with these guys back on, and we'll address the